was a naughty kid, jig school so much, got bashed. And the day I got bashed was the day that something flipped in me and goes, oh man, I don't want to go down this path. I'm going to end up dead, jail.
Chuy is the founder of Strategic Brokers, one of Australia's fastest growing mortgage brokerages on track to settle over $1.3 billion in loans this year. Born in a Thai refugee camp after his family fled Cambodia's killing fields.
Hung arrived in Australia at just 6 months old with nothing. Today, he's built a $20+ million property portfolio and runs a business that's doubled its revenue year over year.
You're a refugee to Australia. I would love to know the backstory and the background around all of that. Lessons did you really take from that as well? What did that instill in you growing up?
Every grain of rice you left over, they'd give you one whip. That survival mindset was always instilled in me. Always try to find the most efficient way, the most value in everything.
You had someone that was the closest to you, that you trusted the most, like burn you and then take your EA or something, wasn't it?
I look back at it now and I don't feel any hate, any pain. I believe I didn't provide the environment that allowed them to stay.
That just infuriates me, because I know how much of a good person and giving person you are as well.
It actually taught me a lot of lessons to allow me to structure my business differently. So if anything, I thank it. It's like the guy bashing me in year 10, I thank him.
What do you believe is the number one character trait of the top 1%?
Chuy, the man, the myth, the legend, mate. Welcome to the Top 1% podcast.
Thanks for having me, mate. I heard you needed someone bigger than Bruce Buffer, so you brought me.
Bigger than Bruce Buffer, mate. You're here. You're in the studio. How you feeling, mate? You're jet lagged. You've just gotten back from overseas.
Yeah, it's to be honest, I woke up at 1 a.m. last night, and I felt like I've only slept 2 hours. but you know what? Feeling good.
Feeling good?
Yeah, feeling refreshed.
Feeling primed?
Yeah.
Good. Ready to go?
Ready to go.
Ready to go. That's good, man. I am super pumped to unpack your story today, man. You have a very, very unique story, man. Now, you and I have known each other for a couple of years now as well. Got a lot of respect for you, man. You've got you got a pretty crazy rap sheet as well, mate. Brokerage business, on track doing over $1 billion. You like well over $1 billion in settled loans this year, man. You got a 20+ property portfolio worth over 20 mil. You got a sick McLaren that the listeners would have seen on the stories that I just put up before as well. So, man, it's an impressive rap sheet, dude. And the other thing that I love about you is you're a super humble bloke. And man, even we were having a bit of a chat before we came in. It's funny, we were talking about business class and the pain that you have to go through in economy at some point to then decide to go to business. And it's funny because you've got a very expensive McLaren out there, and you bought that before you ever flew business. And I can relate to it, man, because I bought my first Ferrari before I ever flew business as well. So it's weird, man, but it's like the humbleness, I think, of what we've gone through from a pain side of things. And man, I think that actually tells a lot about the individual as well, mate. So honestly, man, super keen to unpack this, your story, your journey today.
No, awesome. Yeah, no, that's funny about the whole business class thing. So that was my first time.
Yeah.
Actually, ever flying business class. Everyone just assumed that you've done it before, right? Probably like yourself. When I think I heard on another podcast that it was 1 year ago that you first flew business class and you came out of the back end of pain. Very, very similar to business, right? When you do business, you'd have to go through a lot of pain before you come out of the other end. So flying business for me was a bit more of, I feel like I never put my kids through it.
Yeah.
At this stage, I feel like maybe at a later stage when they've worked towards something to earn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was, it was quite an achievement for me, to be fair. And what a luxury you can have.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. It's a funny thing, dude. And yeah, we were talking about the pain of it, and it's funny because, man, I don't think you actually enjoy it's funny, you talk about that with your kids as well, and almost needing to sort of earn the right to have that feeling, not just to give it to them. And it's funny because you had the pain of I think you said you cooked your back or something on a big long haul flight home. Man, I was coming back from Rome. This is going back. This would have been 2 years ago. I think it was in 23. And the Qatar flight got cancelled, and I was supposed to get back on a Saturday and be fresh for work by the Monday. Bro, we had all these different rearranged flights. Ended up getting back 2 days later. I flew in the morning of the Monday. I had to get to these meetings. I'm like, I'm never flying long haul economy again because of how smashed I got on that thing. And yeah, man, it's funny, right? But it's the pain of instances like that actually make the fruits of what you can then afford at the later point so much more enjoyable, like the cars, like the business flights, the house, all that sort of stuff as well, man. So I think embracing the pain really allows you to sort of value the experience that you can afford yourself further into the journey. So
yeah, I think for yourself also, it's actually losing that time would have been more painful
100%
than actually sitting in economy during that period, right?
Well, I'm a very impatient person, so sitting in a hotel for an extra 2 days while I was trying to book me on another flight, that was not enjoyable.
No, I feel you.
But mate, we're talking about journey, and that's what we're going to really unpack with yourself today. If I meant to dial all the way back to the start, mate, you're a refugee to Australia. You guys fled Thailand, I believe, when you were a kid.
Cambodia.
Oh, it was Cambodia.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was born in Thailand.
You're born in Thailand. Okay,
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
Oh, right. Okay,
Yeah.
man, give me like, what's the? I would love to know the I would love to know the backstory and the background around all that, and what lessons did you really take from that as well? What did that instill in you? Growing up.
Yeah, so I probably won't take credit for all of the hard work that my father had to do to obviously get here.
Okay.
I was born in a refugee camp when in Thailand.
So you were born in the refugee camp in Thailand?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So and then
They fled Cambodia to Thailand. Okay,
correct. The journey at the very beginning, but my father, they were living in Cambodia during I guess a really harsh period. They were called the killing fields, right? So basically, there was a dictator who came in and he was killing his own people.
Okay.
Anyone who was affluent, smart, if you were a doctor, if you were in finance, you were a banker, anything like that, they were basically getting rid of you because they were taking over the country and by brute force. And the only way to do that and become obviously the dominant people in the country was to get rid of the smart people, and that was their philosophy. So they went down that path and
Killing all the academics and all other leaders, potential leaders, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think, don't quote me to this, but I believe 1/3 of the population in Cambodia were murdered basically during that period.
Wow.
And for those who, so I think my family back then, I was told that they had family businesses, they had jewelry business.
Yeah.
They had multiple assets, but they had literally had to just give it all up because they took over all of the land. And the only way to survive was to flee to the countryside and pretend to be a farmer.
Yeah, right.
So they did that and they fled to the farms. And then I believe what happened is that when they got to the farms, the military that was taking over the country, they eventually got to the farms.
Yeah.
So then they started taking control of the farms and then forcing everyone into slave labor, basically. So my family were put to work. The way my dad describes it was the bowl of slop every day. It's called congee. So congee, which is just watered down rice.
Yeah.
They chuck a few veggies in a big pot. Yeah. And they give you one bowl of congee every single day. Send you out to the rice fields, and then you'd pick rice for 16 hours. If you fell down, they'd whip you, or people will die from malnourishment, disease, murdered because they were trying to fight back. So I think pretty dark side of it. My dad, I've actually never told this story, but he shared this with me recently. Is that he had his best mates. Imagine a bunch of blokes that are your best mates. Yeah. And one night in the camp, or just not the camp, so when they were caught by the military and picking rice, he went back to the site and his friends are like, they hadn't had showers in days. They wanted to sneak off and have showers. So his mates decided to go. My dad decided, nah, I better not. My dad was just conforming, just trying to survive. And they went and had showers, and in the morning they were hung up.
They all been hung.
They all been hung, to be put up as a demonstration for the rest of the people not to mess around.
Hectic.
Because they were caught out having showers and stealing food and stuff like that in the middle of the night. So I think the way he tells it, it's hard to translate sometimes, but that was the general consensus of what happened.
His best mates, all his best mates at that time, they all got hung, and he was...
Yeah, he survived because he decided not to go ahead with it. But
that's crazy.
That's how ruthless it was.
Yeah.
And he witnessed, he said he witnessed somebody grabbing a baby and smashing it against a tree, murdering a baby. So he's seen some crazy stuff in his life, that's for sure. But yeah, very dark times. So, they fled Cambodia. Yep. And my dad, they still had some possessions, and then they had to pay for a refugee boat to try to come to Australia. So a whole generation jumped on a boat without going too long into the story. They jumped on this boat and then they got into the water. And then as they were passing Thailand, the Thai military, they caught them. Yeah. The border patrol, or whatever they call them, took them back and then put them. They're like, our jails are full. There's nowhere to put these people. What do we do with them? In the middle of the night, they tugged it all the way out into the middle of the ocean, shot some holes in.
No way.
In the boat and just left them in the middle of the ocean or to die. And that was my whole generation, like dad, sisters, brother, like the whole generation.
Yeah.
Every single family member of mine was on that boat.
Yeah.
And then they ended up, being cast away, basically.
Yeah.
Multiple, I don't know how long it was, but my dad doesn't even know how long it was, nights and days. And I think and they had no water, and they were about to die, and rain came, and he had a tarp, caught water, drifted along, ended up on a stranded island somewhere.
Yeah.
And on that island, they found, they wanted to get on the island because there was like papaya and fruits and stuff they could eat.
Yeah.
But they couldn't get on because there was like sharp rocks, and they were just swaying along, like crashing into rocks, basically.
Yeah.
After floating for, I don't know how long it was, 5, 6, 7 days.
Yeah.
Eventually getting onto the island, basically, and surviving there on whatever they could find. I don't know how long they were on the island. They told me it was quite some time, maybe a week or two.
Yeah.
Before a Vietnamese fishing boat came past, found them, and then took them back to I think it was to Vietnam.
Yeah.
Where their families were.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened exactly there, but then they were put into jails, and then. My dad made really good friends with one of the jail guards.
Yeah.
Somehow, like, my dad was he's a very soft, kind-hearted guy.
Yeah.
And then, he just was very good at adapting and making friends where he could.
Yeah.
At the time, and he ended up, connecting with this guy and then bribing the whole family out of jail. And they fled, and then they ended up back in Cambodia, back in the rice fields again.
No way.
Yeah. So then 2 years spent there, and guess what my dad did?
What's that?
Let's do it again.
Jump in there, get in another
boat and go it again. Like,
right.
What? Like, who would say let's go do it? So he asked the whole family if they wanted to do it again.
Yeah.
Everyone was obviously traumatized. She was scared. Nobody went. It's just my dad, my mum, and my brother. Who was like, I don't know how old he was at the time, but he might have been 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And they done it again, and then went out, got to the Thai border. Guess what happened?
No, they didn't get caught again.
They got caught again.
Bloody hell.
But this time, the border patrol were good. They brought him in to Thailand and then put him in a refugee camp.
Okay. Okay, sweet.
And
that's where you were born.
That's where I was born.
Okay.
So I can't take credit to any of that. A lot of lessons learned, and obviously those stories were growing up. They were retold and retold again. Yeah. And I remember at, I think, the age of, probably 11 years old, my dad took me to Cambodia for the first time to see it all. Yeah. And let me live in the farm side. He put me through all the really hard stuff just to, see what it's like. And he's like, do you want to live here? Is this the life that you want? Because I was playing up a lot. Yeah, right. Too, So, it was a very, very interesting time to see all that. But and
then so at what point did the family then migrate to Australia?
Yeah, so I was 6 months old.
Okay.
And we were very fortunate in 1987 that the government were letting in women and children first. Okay. And they almost say like I'm the lucky child because we have a newborn. Please let us in. Okay. And we got sponsorship because we had family members who were here already. Okay. Who also fled on refugee boat maybe 4 years prior. Mm-hmm. Who were let in, and it just the stars aligned. Yeah. And then I think we were living, I believe, in Fairfield. A whole bunch of us in like a 2-bedroom apartment. Yeah. Like imagine, apartment putting mattresses everywhere. Yeah. Everyone's just sleeping in multiple mattresses in an apartment. Yeah.
That's wild.
That's what I actually kind of remember because I was there like in that apartment till about 5. Yeah. So I remember just dancing to Michael Jackson, looking out the window. That's all I had to do. Yeah.
Mate, that's a crazy story of obviously the upbringing of coming up, and it probably would have instilled, I guess, your dad, like with that hard work and obviously what they've come through and the trauma sort of they'd come through, instilling you guys with the hard work and what to be respectful for as well, right? And grateful for too.
Yeah, I think, like we were talking before, obviously recording, how you and I have this same mindset around value, and we're talking about the economy class and the business class, and we couldn't justify business class because if you look at the numbers of like, I don't know, it's such a tight ass thing, but I think we always think about, like to compare flights, right? Economy class flight would have been 2,500, whereas the business class for two people, right, would have been about 9,000 a piece.
Yeah, right.
And you think about, well, I could put that money and invest it elsewhere.
Yeah. It's always value of a dollar.
Yeah, the value of a dollar. We're always thinking about the value of a dollar. But as I guess you grow and everything else grows, then the value is more relevant as such. So your time is more important. And your earning ability is obviously your opportunity cost is a lot better. Yeah,
I think also, man, like the way I look at it now as well is if I can justify it from a value perspective, say in that scenario, man, I can't sleep on long haul flights, right? So I can't sleep in in economy. It's always way too uncomfortable for me. And then to do, if I'm doing a 15-hour flight and I can't sleep, but I think about it now, if I'm in business and I can sleep and I can wake up fresh and rested now, back in the day when I was laboring, it didn't matter as much, man. You didn't need to be cognitively switched on. But these days, man, like I need to be switched on, you know what I mean? So now I see the value of it. The value's actually there in my mind compared to back in the day. I could never justify. Man, dude, it was less than 18 months ago that I would have booked my first business flight. And I only did it because I got a mad deal. So, but then you can't go back, man. You once can't go back.
Well, I'm here 2 days after arriving back from France, and if I flew economy, I could tell you now, I'll be sitting here just looking at you nodding.
I'd be telling you a story.
Yeah. So the value of it is the fact that I can tune back in.
Yep.
You know, you can get your brain back in sync, get back into work, and prioritize tasks, right?
100%, man, dude. Let's jump into the story then. How it really sort of kicked off in terms of how everything sort of progressed, man. So, how long did you live in Fairfield for as well?
Yeah, so
you grew up around that sort of area, right?
Yeah, correct. So in Fairfield, I believe, I don't know the exact dates, but until about 5 years old or something like that. Yeah. And then we moved to Wakeley. Okay. Which is an interesting suburb. It's because it's right next to where you went to school.
Well, dude, I went to school in Fairfield.
Yeah, So Wakeley was the next suburb to your school.
Yeah,
right. Literally your school was on
on Hamilton Road.
Yeah,
right?
on Hamilton Road. Yeah, we lived off Hamilton Road.
Oh, there you go.
So there you go. So that's where we ended up. My dad ended up landing a job at Sydney Water, just making pipes.
Yeah, right.
There was a lot of factory labor jobs at the time, and then being a survivor, really thinking about every cent. They never spent a single cent. They literally saved every dollar and just needed a home. So that scarcity mindset that they have, everything's scarce. They would like literally buy rice. If we had rice left in our bowl, we'd get whipped.
Really?
Yeah. So like, to put it in perspective, like when we were young, it's like every grain of rice you left over, they'd give you one whip.
They get a whip. No way.
You get a whip for it, right?
The Cambodian bloody whip back.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So they're like, and every day the message was always, when we were out there in the farms, if we were lucky to get 1 grain of rice, you'll be very fortunate, right? To get that extra little bit of food, they give you the extra energy to survive.
For sure.
So that survival mindset was always instilled in me. And so whenever I looked at things, I always try to find the most efficient way or the most value in everything, or look at everything with a scarcity mindset. So it's still instilled in me today, but obviously not to the same level as they used to be.
It's interesting, man. It's interesting you kind of go through that, because I know we've got some very similar values in the way that we look at things, man. And I grew up with a very, very similar, not just obviously the same family, but very similar. And I grew up on the farm as well, right? And it was a very similar thing, man, of like that real scarcity mindset, and you had to value everything that you had. Same thing, man. I had to finish everything. It was on the plate. And same thing, man. Like we were out there bloody laboring all day, with the farm and all the rest of the sort of thing. You need to value this thing and make sure you can't throw stuff away, So, but it's funny. It took me a long time to sort of iron out the inefficiencies around that as well, because there's good components to it, like that, knowing the value of a dollar. But then there's also the scarcity piece, which also isn't the best thing. There's pros and cons to almost everything in life, right? But it's an interesting thing to sort of unpack the similarity around that as well, because I know we've got very similar mindsets around that.
Yeah, 100%, and that probably it's a big catalyst for someone's success in a sense, because you've got you're not afraid to be in the trenches. Yeah, right? You will do whatever it takes to get to the next level. There's for some reason I always found myself not being lazy about anything. Yeah, it's like, I could do it myself. But at some point that's a detriment to you also, right? Because there are better ways to do things, which you learn.
Man, you know what just popped into my mind then is like something that I think really kind of came from that piece of scarcity mindset, which I think has instilled a really high quality trait in me as an investor. And I think you, again, carry the same thing. It's people would think I'm risky because I'm a massive risk taker because of the amount of properties I own and everything I've done in my journey today. But I'm actually quite a conservative investor. And so before I ever put a dollar, and it's the same when I run the business. And I think this is why so many people love APS and Australian Property Scout, because they know I'll go put my money into a market before they do. And so I always put my money where my mouth is. But that's because I'm that careful where I put a client, because it's the same as where I put my own money. And so everything for me is a calculated risk. I'm not just going to go pull the trigger. Oh yeah, this looks good, that looks good, whatever. I'll drill on something for 3-6 months before I actually go and buy in a location. And man, I think that level of calculated risk, it you can't be too calculating. You can't procrastinate. You can't calculate to the point of procrastination. But you can calculate to the point of trying to make the most educated decision possible. And so that calculated/educated, risky move decisions can really guarantee a level of success as well. I think it's the same in both business and in investing as well.
Well, I think
What's thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's how I actually connected, or I started connecting the dots with you.
Yeah.
I started seeing your deals pop up on my desk. And then I was looking at the deals and I was like, these are deals I would buy.
Yeah.
So that's where actually it stemmed to try to connect with you originally. Everything that landed, I was like, man, these are exactly my bread and butter, like what I like, because as much as people think some of the deals you do are risky, like I personally don't see I see very, very minimal risk compared to what other people are doing out there, right?
Sure.
Because people are measuring, oh yeah, you lose, let's argue cash flow, for instance, right? People are willing to lose, 40 grand a year to maybe make 50 grand on capital growth. What are you really making at the end of the day, 100%. Right? Whereas a lot of the deals which I was seeing on your side were virtually during a period, were virtually cash flow positive from day one. So your worst case scenario is that, well, I'm going to break even. And if I sold, and you're buying good assets, which are, let's say houses on land for the predominant part, which if you even look at historic data, which is not always, the best case to invest in, but it's a good indicator, right? For sure. That these properties have gone up, properties are very forgiving, right? So it allows, even if you make a mistake, it somehow fixes itself.
But tell me though, in terms of what you've actually seen, so let's just say they're neutrally geared, right? They're not costing you anything or making you anything from a cash flow perspective, but what have you actually seen from the growth side of things?
Oh mate, well, you've absolutely smashed it, right? So that's the thing. So you've actually you've outperformed the status quo.
For sure.
It's amazing. And I've seen it hands-on. So, I've experienced it hands-on, seen it hands-on. So it's a wonderful thing. That's for sure.
I love it, man. I love it. And dude, I think that calculated risk piece comes in both sides there. Yeah. Calculated risk from a cash flow perspective. Like I'm not willing to cop. I actually we did the Equity Mates Live last night. So we're recording the day after the Equity Mates Live, and they put up this property in Paddington because we're in Sydney, and like there's obviously a lot of people live in the very close proximity to where we're recording, and so I wouldn't touch it, and everyone I had all these gasps around the room, and I'm like, why would you buy this thing? It was 1.7 million. I was like, it cost you 50 grand a year to hold. I don't see Sydney doing anything, exciting over the next, 5 years. So I was like, by the time this thing, if it starts to grow, let's say in 5 years, you're 250 grand in the red before you even start, because it's cost you $50,000 a year to hold this thing. What's the actual point of holding it? You know what I mean? Like, what's the point of owning this thing as an investment?
They went up 250 grand.
Damn, bro, cost you. But it's interesting. It's an interesting way to sort of look at it, man. And I think again, we just reiterate the calculated risk. And I think whether it comes to business, whether it comes to investing in terms of whatever form, and obviously everyone listening to this, they're trying to achieve that top 1% mindset and obviously ability in whatever it is that they're chasing. To understand the level of calculated risk that goes into this stuff and looking at everything, but not to the point of procrastination, to the point of being able to make a good, solid, educated decision and still take action. So I love that, man. I love that.
No, 100%.
That's cool. Mate, let's run through your story. So, we've covered a lot of ground already and a lot of different things, but we've heard mostly about your old boy story and your family story, man. But let's jump into your story, mate, and where it really stemmed from. You grew up firstly in Fairfield, then Wakely. So we're obviously in that, in that very hard-working, working-class Asian community of Sydney, which I obviously actually had a lot of exposure to in high school, because that's where I went to high school, even though I lived in the bloody bush. But man, where does your story kick off? Where does this wealth creation run start?
Yeah, I think from obviously living in Wakely and then my parents taking a mortgage, I've only really started reflecting on this recently to see, where certain things that I have today or thoughts that I have today stem from. Yep. And I realized when I was between age 5 and 9, when my parents had that mortgage in Wakely, they were doing anything and everything they could to pay down that mortgage. Yep. Right. So, I didn't even know my mum had a lolly shop. And then on the
I'm
weekends,
sure she'd get that one close to the chest.
I remember we were sewing in the house. Okay. So we'd sew for these manufacturers, and then I'd have to cut strings for them to tidy up the sewing. So we'd sew, we'd then study. Yep. And my parents, obviously, they wanted to give me education. I was a smart kid, so they were just drilling me every day. It was up to 3 hours a day of maths tutoring. Yep. Yeah, and my mum would sit with me there for hours every single day, work, tutor, and then play for like an hour. Yep. It was mostly, they never had those opportunities in life, and I think for them, they wanted to give you, the way for them to give you a life was to give you opportunity, right? And for them, the only way they knew it was education. So they were pushing down that path as hard as they could.
Yeah.
But then I had a pivotal moment. I think I've shared previously in podcast. But at 9 years old, mother passed away. So that was it's a pretty hard one for me to talk about still to this day because I'm still dealing with it as an adult. But as as a 9-year-old, to lose your mother and kind of the forefront of everything that that you were learning or everything that you've pretty much been taught. And then my dad was working 24/7. I was pretty much left alone and almost by myself from 9 all the way to when I was a teenager. So it was a pretty hard period. But I think at the time I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah,
I was very clueless to everything that was happening around me. Then my dad switched my schools when I was 9, which was then, I feel like it was, I don't know, not to play blame game or anything like that, but the switch of schools just changed my environment completely.
Yeah, in a positive or negative?
I don't know. This is the thing that I don't know because, so to put in perspective, up until the age of 9, I was a gifted kid. Yeah. Put into like a gifted and talented program. I was one of 9 kids in my grade in this program. And I was excelling at a whole nother level. But I was almost autistic in the sense that I only knew numbers. I didn't know human interactions. All I knew was I was quite robotic.
Okay.
And then when I switched schools, I remember they put me into this new public school, no gifted class. They didn't know where to put me. Yeah. So they placed me in the middle class. So when I was in the middle class, guess who you meet? Because the school I went to was half housing commission, half normal kids.
Yeah, for sure.
So of all the naughty kids, guess who was the funnest kids to hang around? Naughty kids.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so then that just changed my world. I just became a whole different rebel of a kid. And, a real naughty kid, but always still smart.
Yeah, okay.
But very naughty. Yeah. So, then I got caught up with real bad kids and really got out there and just, you started, running riots around the streets. Yeah. But I don't know if, Bonnyrigg is a suburb. Of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I used to play Bonnyrigg. Yeah. The Serbs, right?
You play against the Serbs there, yeah.
That's it.
So, Bonnyrig's a pretty rough area growing up. It was literally one of the only suburbs I knew that the whole suburb was housing commission. Yeah, right. So all my friends were...
Was it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was probably like 4 or 5 owner occupiers and a few hundred housing commission.
Yeah, hectic.
Yeah, you'd see bonfires lit up in the front yards with no grass. It was
wild.
It was right. You get rolled actually, riding your push bike through...
Rolled, brother. I haven't heard that. I don't reckon I've heard getting rolled in bloody 15 years, mate. Bloody hell.
Yeah, I think that changed me. I don't know. Like, it changed me, whether it's for the better or the worse. I feel like every life experience builds a part of you.
For sure.
And I feel my ability to connect with people from different walks of life was a big part of it. If I'd never gone through that, I'd probably be a doctor or something. But not really very naive to the rest of the world.
Man, I feel you, dude. It's like like intelligence is obviously a huge part of why you've had your success because of that piece that comes with it. But man, I think the street smart component allows you to build relationships the way you do as well, and also look at things differently. So man, I can 100% relate to it as well because obviously growing up, man, I grew up in the bush, and you think about where I grew up on the farm. Very different values to then come in, live in, spend most of my teenage life in Fairfield. And going and playing at clubs, in areas like Bonnyrigg, bro. Like, I don't know if you ever remember, actually, I don't know if you ever play, but like MacArthur Ramsbury, they play at the back of Ed's. The worst cribs of Campbelltown. And you'd go play Blacktown, Mount Druitt, man. 100%, bro. It was hectic. And you'd go and you'd be playing kids that live there, the housing comms, you'd be playing back here on the housing commission, bloody communities and stuff. And dude, Fairfield wasn't much better, and it was. But it's funny, man. I've never really reflected on the street smarts that I would have had coming from that, dude. I went to Fairfield Station. And by the way, obviously, this story isn't about me, but it's making me reflect on that stuff. Went to Fairfield Station every bloody afternoon, catch the bus along bloody Hamilton Road. Fairfield Station, have to get off at Campbelltown, which was as bloody rough, if not rougher. And then you bloody catching the train from there down to bloody Bargo. Like it was hectic, man. The street smarts that I would have learned in those 5 years. Crazy.
I bet you're probably like me. Like you're always scouting. You're always scouting, but you're kind of aware of your surroundings
100%.
All the time because of that.
Hyper aware.
Yeah, hyper aware. I'll look around me all the time, and I'm always quite sensitive because I've been put to knife point on a train. I've had or a lot of random stuff happened as a teen, right? And you think about it and reflect back, it builds a lot of character.
For sure.
Not that you want to put your kids through, like who wants to put their kids through that stuff,
Bro,
right?
do you remember when you catch a train, they said Dax my phone. Every time you jump on the train, you Dax it. Like Dax it, if any of that, you're putting it down your pants in your undies, you look like you got a massive package because you got to hide your phone so you don't get rolled on the train.
I lost one phone, so I had to start doing that myself. So,
Man, I was always Dax.
Yeah, no, it's and I think going through all of that, it does build a lot of character and a fair bit of resilience, but you also learn character, as other people's characters.
Yes.
You'd meet a lot of dodgy people.
For sure.
Your school was a sports high school, I remember. My brother went to your school.
Yeah.
He was a bit older than us, right?
Yeah.
But man, his generation of Westfields was a mess.
Dude, it was hectic.
Yeah.
Because the thing was a sports high, but half it was sports and half it was locals.
Yeah, correct.
So you'd still be mingling the same as you with that. And I was a naughty kid, bro. So I always got put in those classes as well.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing, man. Like I was smart at what I was smart at, but I was just, I don't know, getting up at 4:30 a.m. every bloody morning and going to bed at bloody 11 o'clock, getting home from training. I was a irritable little kid with shit going on, So it was funny, man. That's the sort of exposure that I got. It sounds like very, very similar to yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Or then after, I guess, obviously that period of transition.
Definitely reflect them.
Yeah, it's funny reflecting.
I thought about this for years.
Actually, like I've been doing a lot of reflecting. Obviously, 3 weeks away in France, sitting
business class, sipping champagne on the way home.
What do you do?
Rub it in, mate. Rub it in.
You got to reflect, right? And you're looking back, where did I come from? No, but it was nice. It was nice. But yeah, going from there, I ended up, going to the public high school, and was really naughty, man. Hung around the bad kids and got into all sorts, fist fights, and, you name it. It's just what you did.
So how does that fast track to then when you started doing what you're doing, you started making obviously some big money as well. Like how does that transition from being a naughty kid at school, but you've got intelligence to then, I know you started, was it poker that you moved into? You went to uni. What's the transition here? How does this progress?
So it's funny because your mindset goes through multiple layers, right? So one was, I had this hustler mindset. I don't know if it's my mum doing those multiple things, but in high school, I'd hustle everything, play Pogs, Pokemon cards. I'd hustle and make money out of everything.
Pogs?
Yeah, Pogs. You remember
Pogs?
about that?
Yeah. Take me down memory lane.
Hey, I used to play Pogs and I got so good at it. I used to win everyone's Pogs and I'd sell it back to them.
No way.
To make some money or some extra pocket money. And I just used to buy and sell anything I could find just to make a little bit of coin. And I saved everything because my dad always said save because you're gonna do something with the money eventually. And I had a lot of money. I was saving every single day. I never spent any money up until I'd save till the age of 19, literally. Never spent anything. I didn't know what I was saving for. Always knew I was saving for something. So it was just hustling. And then when I was 16, I ran at underage dance parties. I think I made like 10 grand or something like that as a 16-year-old running underage parties like per night. Every time we ran an event. Yeah. So I was making money hustling nightclubs, underage parties until there was a big fight on my boat and they threw chairs off and people got smashed.
No way.
Yeah. And then I remember crying, sitting there on this boat and been the whole idea. Okay. But then started working at McDonald's and doing any line of work I could find some money in, right? And then, because of parents, obviously education was the key. It's funny because in year 10, I got bashed. And
in year 10?
I got bashed. And I was a naughty kid, jig school so much, got bashed. And the day I got bashed, it was the day that something flipped in me. Yeah. And goes, oh man, I don't want to go down this path. I'm going to end up dead, jail, whatever it's going to be. Yeah. I have to figure out how to really make money in the proper way and do all the rest of it. And something flipped in me. So I started going to school every day in year 11, 12. Got a really high mark in my HSC. Yep. Ended up doing accounting and finance. And
what did you get in HSC?
I think it was like 90.35.
Yeah,
which is pretty good for someone who jigs school. For sure, man. I don't know how many days, or one third of the year. But year 11, 12 I dialed in and then I ended up getting like a 90 plus mark. Beautiful. And then got into accounting and finance. Hated every single day of uni. Absolutely hated it. I just could not stand there. I knew I wanted to do business. Yeah. I didn't know what I wanted to do in business, but I just followed with the degree because that's what my parents instilled in me. Said, you must have a degree in order to make money. Yep. And so that was just embedded in there. I couldn't get rid of it. So I just followed through whilst I found other ways to make money, which was playing poker. Yeah. Started playing poker, but then ended up landing a job with them at the poker league and earning a lot more than I was earning at McDonald's, maybe whatever it was, 5, 6, 7x. The amount of money I was earning there per hour. Yeah. And then I ended up just working so many shifts while I was doing full time at uni.
Yep.
And still doing that saving, just kept saving. And then I started playing poker professionally. I'll say professionally, like go to the casino 4 or 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
And just, take money off people basically.
Yeah.
You'll maybe lose 1 out of every 10 nights, but you play so tight with your cards.
Yeah.
Poker's quite an interesting game because, some people say it's gambling.
Yeah.
If you're actually a really good player, it's not really gambling.
Yeah, right.
Like if you sit long enough with a good player, they will take all of your money off you over time.
Yeah.
Because it's a mathematical game.
Yeah.
You just keep playing your odds, your value, odds, value, and then the maths just kicks in. And eventually, if you sit, say, 4 days with someone, I can guarantee you a pro player will take everything off you 5 times over in those 4 days, right? It's you do probably like poker. But I don't know if you'd ever play it.
Sounds interesting. Nah, dude, I haven't really, man. That's interesting. So then, so you're playing it. So you're playing it professionally. But then you ran the league or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, correct. So I was working inside the league as a tournament director. I was on the microphone talking and running the tournaments, organising, and then the opportunity came up after a year to buy a franchise with them. Okay. So how I was saying I was saving. I didn't know what I was saving for.
There you go.
And the franchise came up. I did 6 digits to get in. Yeah. And then I had enough to get in. And then they looked at me. I was 19 years old. They're like, this guy's studying full time at uni. Like, if I was a franchisor, I wouldn't take me either. But then the guy who hired me originally, he's put his hand up and said, I want to get involved. He was going for the franchise also, and then he hit me up and goes, why don't we become partners?
Hectic.
And then he's a bit older, a bit more mature. He was an ops manager for them for multiple years. Already had one franchise, so he's going for his second franchise. I was the perfect fit for him.
Young,
hardworking, willing to run it all, do what it takes. He knows the business acumen and the operations. Yeah. And that was my first business, really, first proper business besides the, boat nightclubs and Pogs and Pokemon and all that stuff. But that was the first business, and I learned a lot from that business. But we then turned that into the second biggest franchise in the country. I was 19, 20, earning a ridiculous amount of money, a few $100,000 a year.
At 19?
Yeah.
How much?
I can't remember exactly, but I reckon it was about 300 grand a year.
300 grand?
Yeah, at its peak.
Yeah.
Right. So it got up to like 3 something. Yeah. And then kind of balanced out around 200s. Yeah. But I was earning really good money as a uni kid. It's huge. We had a full-time business. Was at uni. I was shouting the bar every weekend.
As a silly young bloke with cash does.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, I wish I knew how to invest in property at the time, mate.
Oh, man, game changer.
Yeah. But
so, man, how did it then progress from there? So you've got this. The franchise is humming.
Yep.
What's a progression from here?
So after I think it was like 4 years of running the franchise, I realized my profits were going down. Yep. The clientele weren't as good as they were. I was starting to lose my passion in it.
Okay.
Once I started to lose the passion, you can, like anything, when you're not enjoying it anymore, the results show itself, right?
Sure.
So I started noticing that, and I'd done this accounting and finance degree for no reason. I don't want to become an accountant; it's too boring. Yeah. I was enjoying this, maybe I was looking for the dopamine hits. And these were giving me those dopamine hits. We were doing live poker tournaments every single day, but it was no longer giving me the hits, and I was like, I can't do this forever. And a guy came up on an infomercial selling mortgage broking businesses. Mm-hmm. So I was like, where do I sign? I thought I got a good deal, negotiated this guy down, finding the value of $1, bringing him down from 70 grand a franchise to 20 something grand. Yeah. Thinking I'm getting a great deal. Next thing you know, the franchise all goes bankrupt after I think it was 9 months of being in the business. No support.
Who was that? What company was that?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, they're long gone, but they were called refund home loans. They'd give you a refund on their commission. Yeah. So every time you took a home loan, and they're all blowing up. But yeah, so.
So what did you do with the poker business this time? Did you sell it back? Or
I sold it back to my business partner at that point. Well, it wasn't at that point because I needed the cash flow for that to be able to try to run this at the same time. Okay. So I kept carrying along and plugging, and then at some point I realized, mate, I was taking too much time in the poker business, focusing here. Yeah. But when they went belly up, I kept trying to run this thing for 2 years and had no idea what I was doing. Worst mortgage broker in the world. Yeah. And funny enough, one of my poker players goes, why don't you come work with me as a business banking manager? Yeah. He was a bank manager at a major bank. Okay. And he was a player of mine at the poker tournament. Yeah, he goes, why don't you do this? And, you can build a career here. Yeah. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm all for it because I'm not making any money here. Yeah. Doing this franchise. I probably ran 9 loans in 2 years and no idea what I was doing, right? And then yeah, ended up there, applied for the job. They pretty much gave me the front desk greeters job. They go, look, we're not going to take you for the business banking manager because you actually don't have enough experience. They're like, how would you like to take the front desk job? I think the salary was 49,600 per annum.
Yeah.
Going from 300 grand or whatever it was back down. Sold my poker franchise at the time. Yeah. Left some buffers in there.
Can you say what you sold it for?
Oh, mate, I sold it for basically nothing, mate. Okay. Yeah, I was a dumb kid.
All right.
If I look back at it, I could have put, like now knowing what I know now, I could have just put some people in some processes.
Just run it.
I would have made more in 1 year than what I sold it for, right?
Yeah.
And, but, being the dumb kid I was at the time, knowing nothing about business, I think nowadays I look at things different, obviously, and through the experiences I've been through, but I wouldn't have done it that way if I look at it now.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So talk about the progression then. You're at the bank, you started the front desk, you're on 46 grand a year. How does it then evolve into where you go to after? Because I know a pretty big players about to come into the picture here that most people would know in Australian business. How does this all start to then progress to that?
Yeah, so I think I was just trying to, at the time I didn't know where, I knew I wanted to become a broker again at some point. So I just was working really hard to just keep trying to get myself promoted and learn and network. And after about a year being there, I ended up getting to that original role I applied for, the business banking manager role.
Yeah.
So it took a year to get back to that position. When I was in that position, I actually hated every minute of it. Didn't like what they were representing. It's very automated. Like you've got to spend more time putting in data and systems. Uh-huh. And they were just everyone in the bank was just trying to hit quotas to get bonuses, right?
Yeah.
And the care factor is minimal. It's all about what's in it for us, not what's in it for the client.
Yep.
And that didn't resonate with me very well. And at that period, then one of my clients who was a broker came in and goes, "Oh, we're looking for brokers. You'd be a perfect fit." Mm-hmm. And I was like, I just really need a mentor, somebody to guide me to how to do. I know what I need to do. I just need somebody to help me to teach me how to submit these deals and get them approved. Yeah. Because I can get out there and network and do all the rest of it. I just don't know how to get these deals approved.
The process,
and process it. And then, we'd come up to a deal. I joined Yellow Brick Road at the time as a contractor. Yep. No salary, commission only. Kind of backed myself, going, I think I can do this. Yeah. Just worked my ass off, and after 12 months, the numbers started soaring. Yeah. I ended up buying into the business. Yeah. Into that franchise. That franchise, then I ended up taking a half stake in it. Okay. We became business partners. And then we became the number one franchise for lending nationally for like 4 years consecutive after that.
At Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah, Yellow Brick Road, which was, it was quite a great journey.
How did you go from like barely having like done anything? Obviously, you got in there and you started hustling. What was it, do you think, that drove you to get to number one franchise? Because 4 years in a row. For anyone who doesn't know Yellow Brick Road, that's obviously Mark Boris's business that he still runs today. Boris obviously exited Wizard Home Loans for $500 million back around about 2000, which probably inflation-wise, capitalised, probably circa going close to $2 billion in today's dollars. So for him to have sold at that, the man obviously knows what he's doing from a finance perspective. He's exited that. Yellow Brick Road is his company at this point. You've then come in within 12 months, bought into and started your own franchise, and then got it to number one for 4 years straight, obviously before you've left to do your own thing as well. But what did you do? What was the big things you did so differently to everyone else to get yourself to number one franchise in Australia and hold it for 4 years?
Yeah. I remember, it's funny that you asked that. I actually remember probably the biggest thing was I was working so hard and I was working 7 days a week for that 3 or 4 years. Yeah. There was not a day I did not work. Okay. I could guarantee you, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. Back then, mortgage brokers had to go and see you at your house.
Oh, really?
There was no Zoom.
Of course.
And the client expectation was that you'd come and visit them. So I'd book in my whole Saturday and Sunday
to go visit
10 appointments Saturday, 10 appointments Sunday, and I'd go and drive to every single house and sign up clients and sell to them. When you're face to face, you're selling. Did I have the best skill sets at the time? Maybe not, but what I did have was the hustle and willingness to do what it takes to get your deal across the line, return every single phone call, respond to every email within that half hour to hour. Yeah, I was just so responsive. Yeah, right. I was willing to just. Somebody text me, I was texting back. Yeah. Did that then have a toll on the rest of my life? Yes. I had a little young daughter. Was I spending enough time with her? No. Was I spending enough time with my wife? No. There's so many things that I could have done differently, but you wouldn't have allowed me to lead to the path that I led to today. So I'm trying to make up for lost time sometimes with all of that, but at the same time, it's yeah, I think that was the biggest point. The other guys who were very close to me at the top, they had systems, they had operations.
They weren't outwork them. Right?
They weren't doing what I was doing. I was just outworking everyone. That's all it was. To really come down to it.
Yeah. And so where did the transition come in, where you realised the thing around the systems and processes was so important versus just outworking everyone as well?
Yeah, well,
did that come in?
It did. Yeah, it did. Like we were speaking before about pain, right? I had to go through a bit of pain. Like
pain. What was the pain?
Yeah, like multiple layers, man. Like I was stressed out.
Yeah.
I was probably in a bad habit of drinking a lot because the only way to alleviate the stress was to numb yourself, or maybe drinking, going out, getting shit faced, and the typical Australian. It was just like a rinse and repeat model, feeling hungover, doing the same thing over and over, and then trying to function, and it's almost like you're just running this hamster wheel, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
Not spending time with my family was a big one. And starting to feel that slip.
Yeah.
And just always being on edge and not being a good version of yourself. You just felt it every day.
Did you come close to coming apart?
Oh yeah, multiple times. Yeah. There were times and towards probably the 4th and 5th year.
Yeah.
When you go 7 days a week, 14, 15 hours a day, for that long, mate, you burn out.
Yeah.
You're mentally just not there. You're just like, and where I noticed the most was when I started getting, I have this thing where I can't get negative feedback. I'm very, very like it pisses me off.
We are alike.
Yeah, like more than anything, right?
Still.
Yeah, still.
Yeah, me too.
It doesn't leave you. It doesn't leave you.
It just, we are so alike. Yeah.
Sits with me so hard. I was just like,
if I see an email, bro, I'm never in my emails. If I ever see an email and it triggers me, bro.
Yeah, triggers me. Absolutely. So I was getting triggered badly during this period because I was letting the ball, I was letting it go a little bit, and I noticed, I just wasn't giving clients the time. I wasn't giving them what they needed out of the transaction, and then I just had started hiring business coaches, doing everything I could to try to bring it all in, right? And I learnt a lot. I'm one of those guys who I've done it the hard way every single time for some reason.
Yeah.
But in this, I guess, new version or new level of myself, I realized I know how to, I guess, take shortcuts, learn from those who have done it now, rather than just try to do it myself. I've always been that guy, I can just do it myself.
Yeah.
And that was, I guess, it was good, but also bad at the same time. There were so many lessons I could have taken from others before I tried to do it myself.
Yeah. Man, I think that comes from that hardworking sort of background and even like the street smart side of things, all the rest of it, man. You're trying to figure shit out yourself, and sometimes it's hard to ask for that as well. And you think you can just outwork it because, man, I went through a very, very similar thing. You see, you reach burnout point, man. Yeah. And a lot of things get neglected on the way through because you're just working your ass off. Man, I could fully relate to that side of things, man. So it's funny, dude, because like our journeys are so similar. Obviously, they're different, but they're so similar as well with so many different things that sort of went along the journey, went along that piece as well. And something I wanted to ask you was, how involved was Mark ever in you guys were number one franchise for 4 years in a row. Did he ever come in? Did he ever help did he ever offer to mentor? Did he ever have that sort of exposure?
Yeah, so Mark he's always been fantastic. Yeah. Right? He sent me a little bottle of whiskey last week.
Man, you were the man that introduced me. Obviously, when I went on his potty about 6 months ago, like you were the man. So there's obviously there's respect there, man, which is big for a man of his stature.
I've got a lot of respect for Mark. Mark is a straight shooter. Yeah. For those who have never listened to his podcast, but there's a reason. I'm trying to remember, it's called straight talk.
Straight talk.
Yeah. That's the reason. He's actually a straight shooter, right? Mm-hmm. He'll call it as it is, which is fantastic. But he has a lot of respect for people who are willing to put the hard yards in. Yeah. And I think we built that respect over the years. His involvement is that he cares, right? Like he won't show it in the sense of come and give you a hug. That's not him. Yeah. He'll show it in a way that he'll find ways to add value to your business.
Okay.
For instance, like when I was up in the early days of the franchise and we weren't generating that many leads, he'd send out a bloke called Andrew Morello. I'm sure you know Morello. Yeah. Morello would come out to our franchise and then go out to stands with us, run the streets, do all sorts of things, knock on real estate agents' doors because we didn't know how to talk to real estate agents. So he'd bring someone out. He won't go out on his feet by himself.
Yeah, for sure.
Every now and he'll be invited to an event and he'll send us out there and let us network with people. And you always find a way to add some value, and help you out. And we're still part of his group, which is where it's now called YBR Aggregation. That's who we aggregate from.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, it used to be called Val Financial, but so we're still very connected.
All right, interesting.
So yeah, and then Mark obviously said he sent me a bottle of whiskey recently. Wrote a little note there. It's good to see the boy from the western suburbs come up the ranks, but he's really excited to see the future of our business and really transforming the industry and showing what a great business looks like.
Yeah.
Not just purely on numbers, but what the value we add to people, the things that we can do to change people's lives.
Yeah.
Is the key point there.
I love that, man. I love it. And a bit of feedback for myself when I met him. It was funny, man, because it was actually, I remember it vividly because the day that I did the podcast with him, as I was just about to walk into the room, the cyclone from 6 months ago shut down the airport in the Gold Coast, and I saw my flight get cancelled, called my assistant. She's rebooked me to Brizzy just as like everything got smashed and got booked everything. I walked back out with him, everything had been closed, but thankfully I could get to Brizzy. And it's funny, man, he drove me, bro. He drove me after it. I had a chat with him, man. It was, it was very generous man with his time, considering the level of the individual that he is. And it was cool, man. He's just a good Aussie bloke, you know what I mean? When I met him, we sat and chatted and everything, mate. It was just cool. He's a good dude, man. So it's cool to see that obviously he's still aggregated under him, under that brand, under that business. But it's it was interesting, man. Interesting, still humble, humble dude, direct, straight shooter.
Yeah,
but still humble, It
was interesting because I got to see two different franchise models, right? One which obviously fell to shit.
Yeah.
And one which is still thriving today.
Yeah.
And, it's doing really good things lately. So yeah, it's like chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
And having him as the head of the group, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, man. I love that. Man, kind of moving through the journey of making the decision to exit YBR itself.
Yeah.
And the franchise around that, and then going out and starting on your own. What brought that about?
Yeah. So, it was a combination of things. I think it was, I think we were starting to build recognition for ourselves rather than being part of a franchise group.
Yeah.
And I think I could see a vision of a bigger brand that could become somewhat a national brand at some point. A lot of brokers go out there and they'll go and try to shoot the lights out and do too many things at the same time. I didn't really have that path. I thought I just needed my own brand because I know at some point we were doing really good stuff.
Yeah.
And that itself will just resonate with the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Which I feel like we're at this pivotal point at the moment where it's starting to really do that.
Yeah.
And the numbers are starting to really represent. We're probably double our figures this year from last year, or even more than double from last year, which was a pretty big base to start off with to go up.
Well, I remember seeing it was 660 last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you're on track. If it's okay, it's numbers like 1.3.
Yeah, I think we're on track at that level.
So it's literally double.
Yeah,
That's
literally
crazy.
doubled. Yeah, so it's crazy. But I think it's one of those things where when we transitioned out, we needed then obviously to get, I guess, our own brand out there. We need to get some capital back in the kitty to be able to then be able to pay for staff, for instance, and grow the business. So it was the only real option for us to take.
Yeah.
So it was either, we were going to do it together with YBR aggregation, which used to be Val.
Yeah.
Or we'd have to start all over again, and I was willing to risk it all.
Yeah.
Because you build a trail book in the business,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So there was really two options, and in all of that, Mark was, he had that respect to allow me to. He understood,
Yeah.
He understood what needed to happen.
Yeah.
And he was very catering for it, which I'm very appreciative. And it's allowed me to then take that step almost just over 5 years ago, to where Strategic Brokers started.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, it was just, one or two brokers. There was two of us at the time. Then a third came. And then it's only probably the last 2 years, really, when we started exploding out.
Yeah.
When we kind of got the Matrix, the Da Vinci Code is what I call it.
The Da Vinci.
But I've literally we've been spending all our time on people and processes, really, for the last few years. So it's, we're just writing. What we didn't want to do, which happened in the last property boom in Sydney, was writing to the point that you're burning out and you don't have no capacity, getting that negative feedback.
Yeah.
I didn't want any of that again. So we actually probably got more capacity than we need. But I'm ready for this new cycle.
Which is kind of what you want as well, right? Because you want to be able to grow into something, not be at full stretch to max capacity. We've had this conversation before of being stretched to max capacity versus having that bit of room, a bit of breathing room to operate at the highest level as well. And if needed to grow into it, you can still grow into it and grow further as well.
It's funny we talk about that because if you create the engine room that's big enough for it, like a good business owner will figure out a way to fill it.
For sure.
And then once they fill it, they actually overfill it sometimes, and then so you got to always
the build goes again.
correct. But you got to be ahead of the build every time. I believe.
You got to be strategic.
That's it.
The business. Man, I'm curious. Obviously, you've grown it. Like you said, you've cracked. You feel like you've cracked the Da Vinci Code. At this point, you've gone. And man, I feel like you're onto something because considering you're at 660 last year, 660 mil in settled loans this year, you're looking like 1.3 billion. So it doubled what you're doing. Man, I'm curious as to the biggest lessons you think you took away from the time you had at YBR as well. For one, like what do you think the biggest lessons you would have taken away from that would be?
I think the biggest lessons for me during that period was around, I guess, the work ethic. Obviously with that burnout period, which I discussed, but also the good thing about being inside a franchise network was that they shared information quite openly around systems, processes, operations, and a lot of the branches or franchisees, they were very open to sharing how they done things, which helped a lot because then it let me implement, having offshore staff. It let me implement, how did I put this process in? How do I stop this? How do I start that? How do I make things more efficient? Which then obviously grew into part of the modeling, which created strategic brokers. So that open information or open communication in that network was probably the most powerful thing for sure.
So it allowed you to sort of see what was working, what wasn't working with the other groups or the other franchises as well, and then cherry pick obviously the good things, know what to avoid, eliminate the bad, keep improving systems and processes and with that growth.
Yeah, 100%. Nobody in your industry is going to be open and honest about what gives them the edge, right? They're going to give you maybe very limited snippets of it, right?
For sure.
But for anyone who's trying to start out, that franchise network was very
valuable.
Mark has created such a great network there. If you're part of that franchise group, and they are willing to share and help. So that was a big pivotal part of that franchise group that allowed me to then grow for sure.
Talk to me about stepping out on your own. Strategic brokers, you've grown it. Obviously, it's a massive point that you're at now as well. But talk to me about the biggest lessons, or I know you've told me a couple of stories in the past as well. If there's anything you're willing to go through, I guess the biggest lessons you kind of went through with your own actual brokerage as well, both when it comes to people and when it comes to maybe even running as hard as you did and potentially breaking at some points too.
Yeah. So biggest lessons is around people would be,
that's where we've
all gone that, right? So I'm probably still not the best guy when it comes to this stuff because the honest truth is everyone in my business is somebody I know. It's friends, family, brothers, brother-in-law, sister-in-law. It's literally a big family business, right? So maybe I'm still a bit insecure around bringing people from the outside because I don't trust them yet. But I don't know them. That's the thing. And I find that the best people, well, this is my personal approach at the moment, is that I bring in people that I can already trust. So I'm not wasting time on them. And I feel like I'm adding a lot of value to anyone who joins my business at this stage. Like yourself, right? Anyone who joins your business, their growth capacity is enormous, right? They're going to go from this version of themselves to this ultra version of themselves.
For sure.
And I feel like I'm actually offering that to people as they're coming into my business. They might not be aware of it. It's actually more of an opportunity for them than it is for me.
100%.
And I know that for a fact. And so who do you want to give this opportunity to? And I look at the people around me. So why would I give it to a stranger when I can give it to my brother? Right? Why would I give it to this person? I've got a friend from high school who I know is an absolute weapon. Let's bring him in. And that's our latest recruit. Right? So you find, I find that we're giving in that sense. So as much as we're giving a salary and the rest of it, but we're giving growth, which, I think that part is what I recognized in my business. And that's the part that's allowing my business to grow to the next level.
I love that, man. I love it. And I look at, man, I can relate to that so closely and so clearly. Like so many of the people that we've brought into the business have been first and foremost clients, because you build a rapport with people and they know, and you've looked after them and, help create certain things, right? And I think, man, when you have that sort of trust and you also get to know them as a person as well. And so much of that, man, has worked exceptionally well. But then also, man, like I think about our front end, right? So I have 3 discovery call consultants, Brendo, Jimmy, and Liam. They're 3 of my best mates, and outside of probably a handful of other people outside of the business, a few on the Gold Coast, and then a few of my OG boys down in Sydney as well. Other than a handful of people outside of the business, man, 10 of my closest friends would also be in the business that I just trust implicitly. You know what I mean? And it's funny, man, because you stay in business long enough and you work hard enough in business long enough and you try and push to create something significant in business long enough, you're going to get burnt by a couple of snakes along the way. But man, that trauma and that pain that you described before, even like the economy style stuff, those lessons and learnings and instances that you have around those people that end up burning you as it is, it just instills a different lesson and learning for you moving forward in terms of who you look to hire, moving forward in the way process and even potentially the way that you treat people and cultivate people and everything else as well from that end too. And I think it's a funny thing to reflect on, man, because you don't fully learn these things sometimes until you get burnt by someone that you trust. And I know you've had something very similar happen to you too. And I think like, a bit of feedback or a bit of and everyone listening to this can probably sense the anger that I have in me around it, but it's good because anger and pain perfectly coincide with the biggest lessons and the best lessons that you'll ever have in life. But those lessons, man, learnings and everything, that pain that we go through, embrace it because it will teach you the best lessons you'll ever have and allow you to create the best things that you'll ever create in your life as well, and the best everything, whether it comes to systems, processes, people you hire, all the rest of it as well.
Oh, man, I can 100% relate. I had it multiple times. Obviously, when the business was smaller, it hurt so much more, 1,000 times more, because your core, it's basically your core, your frame has been picked at.
Yeah.
And then I have to go back into the trenches.
Yeah.
And do absolutely everything again.
You had someone that was the closest to you that you trusted the most, like burn you and then take your EA or something, wasn't it? Is that what happened? You fucking told me the story, man.
Yeah.
But that just infuriates me, you know what I mean? Because I know how much of a good person and giving person you are as well. Have something like that happen, man, like, fuck, heck.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
so I honestly, I look back at it now and I don't feel any hate, any pain.
Okay.
And it actually allowed me to reflect, right, in the sense that I'm not angry at them.
Yeah.
Like I didn't,
Why?
because I believe I didn't provide the environment that allowed them to stay at the time. When I reflect very hard back on it.
Okay.
I was just running, right?
Yeah.
And if I had the business that I have today, it would have allowed them to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually taught me a lot of lessons to allow me to structure my business differently.
For sure.
So if anything, I thank them. Mm-hmm. It's like the guy bashing me in year 10. I thank him.
Man, it sounds like that. Honestly, the lesson that you took from the change in trajectory that brought about as well. I can understand that.
100%.
Yeah.
And I deserve that bashing. So. but yeah, like, so, I used to take a lot of anger with it. And obviously being, that Western Suburbs boy, you'd have a lot of anger in you, right? You can't help yourself. But I've learned to let it go actually over the years, and actually look at it face on and really just tackle it and go, hey, well, what could I have done differently?
Yeah.
And when you reflect, you're like, oh, well, wait a second, like, having your EA, and I used to just throw shit at it without any structure, context, not doing it the right way. Now I do it the right way and have the right support around it, and I think my team are very happy about how our operations go. Not overly stressed. Things are just sailing.
Yeah.
So it's good.
I hear that's good, man. That's good, mate. Moving forward through this piece as well. Obviously you've achieved some ridiculous things, and obviously you pass on some great lessons around the business philosophy and everything as well. Man, if we pivot for a little bit into the property portfolio side of things, obviously, man, you've been around property for quite some time. You've built yourself a large portfolio. What's your philosophy around property? Like, what have you done in property? What do you think are the biggest achievements you've done in property?
Yeah, so because I've got that scarcity mindset, I've always needed to own occupy.
Okay.
It's quite opposite to the rent investing side, but I actually love the rent investing model, depending on where, depending on, I guess, your life stage, where you're at, what type of property you need to be in.
For sure.
But for me, every time as I was buying an own occupy, it made sense for me.
Okay.
There was a value proposition there, right? Whenever I bought an own occupy, it was weird because I was buying in Sydney every time.
Yep.
But if I bought the place and I moved out of it, it's still projected a 5% plus yield.
Okay.
Right? So then the numbers just kept making sense.
Yeah.
I was like, why would I?
So you were buying well?
Yeah, I was buying well.
Okay.
Like I was buying during those periods. And even my house that I live in today, I actually bought that as a duplex site originally.
Yeah.
And it had a 5% yield on it. I bought it during lockdown. I remember going in there and I had to get permission to go and see the house while everyone was locked down.
Yep.
I wish I bought all of the neighbours. I was actually bidding on one across the road as well. But I think we briefly discussed about COVID being a transformational period for both yourself and I.
For sure.
Where a lot of people saw it as being, there was a lot of fear on the streets, right? Where I was so optimistic during the time, like, mate, this can't last forever. And if anything, people are going to want more houses.
Yeah.
in this period. So I just went hard and just started going out at all of the houses. I think property theory, I think there's no fixed and fast model. Everyone has a different model. There's always a good way to make money in property. There's always an opportunity, basically. It just depends on where you place it. And one opportunity is going to outperform another. And I know that's what you're good at, Sammy. You're always finding the best opportunity at any given time. And you've got to be adaptable. So I see a lot of people or a lot of buyers agents or businesses out there who are, plugging whatever they do, but they have one model. And they never adapt or change. They're not flexible with what they do. Let's just keep buying the same shit. The same shit doesn't work all the time, man. The same shit doesn't work. If you're going to buy a property in Sydney right now, you're never going to get that 5-6% yield. So you're going to be cash flow burnt, right? If you're going to go buy something somewhere else, we won't name areas, but there's places out there we're seeing up to 7% yields, right? Sure. And 100%. You're seeing capital growth at the same time. So there's always an opportunity.
You have to be adaptable, man. I think it's the biggest thing I took out of obviously what you're talking about there. And obviously, man, you're speaking my language. Like, I love this stuff. But the adaptability, man, regardless of what it is, but specifically obviously within that property space too, man, it sounds like you've got so many different sort of strategies that you've employed and pushed as well. So I love that, mate. It's how you make money in the game.
Yeah. I think it's nearly everything in property I've done. Resi, commercial, development, bought a bloody hotel.
Yeah, talk to me about that. We briefly discussed this before, but mate, talk to me about this share in the hotel that you've got.
Yeah, so it's not a massive thing, but it was a bit of a passion project that kind of fell in place during COVID. That anyone who's listening who knows the northern beaches of Sydney knows that Manly has a place called the Q Station, which you've got to drive up to the North Head to get there, and it's just hectares of land with 105 hotel rooms. It's used for weddings, for business functions. People do conferences there. We purchased that during COVID in a syndicate, and it wasn't a typical buy for me. It's a bit of a weird one. The leverage is a lot lower.
Okay. You're on how many people in the syndication?
I think there's about 10 families in.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so it's quite a big syndicate. So I don't own a huge share of it, but it's a cool little project. And
if you don't want me asking, like, what's it worth?
I think the last valuation was 20-something million.
I was going to say, multiple hectares in Manly with a hotel, 100 odd rooms on it. It must be worth a bit.
The crazy thing is you don't own the land, right? Okay. And it's basically on a crown leasehold thing.
Okay.
So you basically own a business that has structures in there and that generates revenue. But it's a cool thing. We're doing a lot to it, and we're trying to create this like hub, kind of like Watson's Bay, where you can catch a ferry there and just spend a whole day out. But eventually people will see it, and it's slowly building traction, because I think sales are up 2 or 3 times what we from when we originally picked up, maybe 3x on it. So
in terms of what you can like lease for, or whatever.
Everything, because it's got restaurants,
of course,
conferencing,
There's
weddings there. So
it's
a beautiful spot to have weddings, looking over the heads and all over Sydney Harbour. Ridiculous spot, but anyways, that's a kind of out of
that's a bit of a different one.
A bit of a different one.
What would you say like your biggest wins are in property?
Yeah, biggest wins actually, funny enough, is the Sammy Gordon stuff.
Here we go.
Like the stuff that you bought from day one, positively geared, good block of land. They're just sitting there and they're just smashing these both growth and rent growing, right? Yeah. So a few of my WA properties, for instance, Perth, like anyone who's knows about what's been happening in the property market. Anyone who's bought in Perth since 2020 has really, really seen some results. Those are probably some of the, like, when you look compared, not by dollar value, but you compare everything, rent,
for sure,
value of the property, like those things are in the growth, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah. So those style properties have been my best performers.
Yeah.
Don't occupy stuff. Yeah. I bought a house in Freshwater, really great beach. I think I'm trying to remember year 2015, so in 2021, 22. Yeah, getting a double up on that. Yeah. That brings you almost 2 million or 1.8 mil profit. And it's tax free.
Yeah, it's tax free. So that's a beautiful part
of it. That was a nice thing that come through. So, I think property is very forgiving. You can make mistakes. Eventually they kind of fix themselves, but why would you want to make a mistake when you can get really quality advice, really think about what your next move is and why you're doing it? Yeah. You and I both had that thing where we needed, the reason for us to sell or to buy an owner occupier was to fit cars. I had the same problem.
It's very true.
Now I've already run out of garage space again. So I'm like,
Man, I'm not far off as well. Bloody hell.
I'm trying to figure out how to get more garage space. So I'm starting to look at old Porsches.
Oh, yeah?
I really like a manual old Porsche.
Oh, like
with
911.
Yeah, with like still analog steering and getting feedback, Carrera S or something like that. You know, so
That's
So I don't know. I have this thing about cars. It's not the fact that I buy cars for, some people might buy a car to show off or whatever it is. I just love driving. I just absolutely love the experience of a vehicle. And for some reason, it's the one place that I'm not in my head.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get that same feeling.
For sure.
It's literally the only place I can be in. And I think both of us suffer some sort of anxiety or thought problem that we think too much. I'm a high thinker, so I'm always thinking. Super high ADHD, unfortunately. So having that, the car is the one place where I'm just in my zone.
That's why I still have motorbikes as well, because the cars and the motorbikes, sometimes if I'm that hectically in my head, the cars won't do it. And that's why the motorbikes are in the garage, because if the cars won't fix it on a certain day, I know if I take the bike out, I have to be dialed in or I'll end up in half.
I've had like 15 bikes.
There you go.
The same. Every time I saw one, say I'm going to hang it up. Next week I'll buy a new.
Man, it's crazy. It's crazy. They're a different release, man. They're a different release. The cars are obviously their own beast, but it's a different release when you're on the bike as well. Man, talk to me about what about the biggest losses? I know you just said property's a very forgiving game. Have you had anything? You've had a 20 plus property portfolio. You've obviously owned a lot of stuff too. Have you had anything that's been a loss or anything that was you can call?
Oh, look, in the property space, the biggest. There's two.
Okay.
So one biggest one was, and you'll laugh at me for this because I bought a whole bunch of off the plans after my first property.
Okay.
So my first property wasn't off the plan, right? And when I settled it, it was worth a whole lot more than what I purchased it for. So I thought, this is the formula. This is the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
So I just started stacking these off the plans.
No way.
Yeah.
When?
But we're going back 2014.
Yeah, okay.
So it was forgiving.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's forgiving.
Forgiving because of the growth that came through.
My biggest loss for that is, had I known better or done the way I would have done it, I would have bought houses in England at the time. I would have went Western Sydney and we went hard.
Yeah.
Right. And I would have made probably 10, 15x on what I would have made. That was the biggest cost.
Yeah.
It wasn't the fact that it cost me money. It was the opportunity cost that killed me on that. And I look back at it, it was inhibiting me from lending. It was inhibiting me from doing other things.
Yep.
And I think the biggest take from that also was I always was looking at full lock lending, right, and thinking I need to be qualified for the big banks.
Yes.
I was too much of a tight ass to pay the extra 1%, 2%, 3% to buy, right?
To your lenders.
It was and looking back at it, the only reason I was that is because I wasn't seeing the growth from my off the plans.
Yeah, right.
To
justify
the extra percentage.
Right.
I was just looking at rent versus what is costing me. If it's costing me 20 grand, I can't afford that. I don't want to use that, right? I could use that 20 grand elsewhere, whatever it is. So that mindset, that was a big shift when I started buying. Well, I bought my first existing property after that, and then that went up like $1 million after like 2 or 3 years, and I was going, okay. But even then, I was still being a tight ass. Yeah. Because then Sydney had run and I couldn't catch it no more. So I wasn't into interstate buying. I was looking at the buyers agents doing their thing. These off the pan guys, they fucked me. Yeah. Not all of them. One of them done okay. Let's be fair. But yeah, that was probably the biggest learning. Then the second one was probably I wanted to make money quick, and I got greedy and started put some money with a developer.
Yep.
And he went belly up. Trusting people over, actually not really digging into it before you work out what you're putting your money into.
Trusted the person rather than the deal.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And, and even trusting the person, I remember this guy brought a Bible out on his desk, which is already,
Bible.
He had a Bible on his desk.
Yeah, right.
And he started talking about how he's a religious guy. You can feel a con man from, why would you deliberately put a Bible there and talk about, do you guys go to church? I know, I don't go to church. He's like, okay. It's like, I'm a man of God. I just open with something like that. I'm like, okay. Or thinking about looking back at it, there's a telltale sign when someone's dodgy. Yeah, or they've got a hidden agenda. I don't even know if my money that invested into that went into that. Yeah, I think the money went into his bank account. Yeah, probably. And he just used it for cash. Who knows? Yeah. He's the sole director. He's shifting money around. Yes. So I think that's what I built my business around. Is actually Strategic Brokers was formed on the basis of giving people quality advice. Yep. Not technically advice, but giving them options, or at least looking at the pros and cons of every deal that they transact in. Yep. All right. So if somebody comes to me and presents an off-the-plan property, I'll tell them the pros and cons. You need to settle in 1 year. This property is worth, you're paying 1 million for. Look at the comparable sales in the area for existing stock. What's that actually worth?
Yep.
If you're seeing existing stock at 600 grand, why are you paying 1 million?
Yes.
Based on per square meter.
For sure.
So, so just giving people that quality feedback against every single deal is what we do. And we've been doing that for years. And that's really, really the foundation of our business. And that's how we became, I believe our business became successful, because we were actually giving people honest feedback and pulling people or steering them in the right direction and really adding value. That's what I find was it's going to help the business keep growing. I
love that, man. I love that. And man, it's the foundations that Australian Property Scout has been built on as well. I know we share very similar values around this. Man, I go back to when I got burnt by the BA. And again, man, trusted the man, not the, I didn't even look at reviews, man. You know what I mean? Like, big name back in the 20 teens, and had a massive name. He was my idol growing up, and bro just burned me hard. He was so shit, and I didn't go and look at reviews until after the fact, until after I was going through this process and getting absolutely cooked. And dude, at the time I was 26, 27, making 70 grand a year, netting like 55K. I burnt 10 grand. But we talk about these lessons, man, like that the lessons from that, where I'm getting with this is the lessons from that, like that 10 grand, same as you getting bashed in year 10. Man, well, this is the example, man. This is the example for me of like, I got burnt 10 grand, but it's set the straightest moral compass ever for the way that we run the buyer's agency. And the same thing, man, like we wouldn't put our names on a deal. I wouldn't put my name on a deal that I don't trust and that I couldn't give it to a client, and it came from that lesson. And that's the way we built the whole business. And that's why, again, the same as you, the way you built this thing, the way, the people trust you is because of that lesson that I had then. People know that I wouldn't, do that same thing to another client coming through. And dude, I met these kids last night at Equity Mates, man, at the live event, dude, 20-year-old kids, man. And these two blokes are waiting, these two kids that were 20, or I think 21 or something, were standing next to me while I was talking to this 20-year-old kid and his dad. And the dad had been super skeptical. They were from Bathurst, and he's like, the dad's like, nah, just buying Bathurst, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, nah, I trust his Sammy Gordon, I'm going to do it. Mate, he bought a deal in a location you've also bought in. He paid $435, I think it was, and he just had it revaled at $480 or something like that 3 months post-settlement. And these kids are standing next to him going like, holy shit, man. 20-year-old kid just made, I think it was 55K, so it must have been $490 or whatever. I made 55K equity uplift in 3 months, man. You know what I mean? It's like doing the right things like that. Then other people seeing this is actually real. This isn't a fugazi. It's, man, like that is what the basis of a great business should be built on. Because you try and like, if you're just ripping people and you're just doing deals for the sake of doing deals, I mean, you get found out very quickly. It's like old mate that was my idol back in the mid-20 teens. Man, he's a nobody now. He's a nobody. You know what I mean? And it's like, if he'd had the right moral compass and done the right things, he'd be the biggest BA in Australia by far.
100%.
You know what I'm talking about. And man, this is the thing. Like I don't understand it, but I don't understand it because I've been burnt the same way that you have in these other scenarios as well. And it just like has instilled this in me that this is the way that business should be done and people should be treated. And man, I think the proof's in the pudding in terms of where we've grown, what we've grown as well.
Yeah, I think it's just being a human being a lot of the time too. Whereas, there's a lot of businesses out there, they're just thinking about their bottom line, they're chasing something.
For sure.
People ask me like, oh, what are you making? Or I mean, I don't even want to talk about that. Yeah. Right? Like, I don't even think about what I'm making. I'm thinking about how many people I'm helping. What is it that what actual outcome am I giving people? Am I adding value to society? So I'm doing all these things, and I don't even know what I'm chasing sometimes. But I just know that that people need this.
Yes,
they need quality advice out there, as you know, right? There's people like, I could imagine being in that same room as you and talking to one 20-year-old, whereas the other two 20-year-olds bought 2 off-the-plan properties, and this guy's sitting there going, I'm already in a deal. I'm going to pull equity in another 6 months and buy a second deal. Yep. And now we're starting to get this snowball effect.
For sure.
And these kids are still sitting there planning their settlement in 3 years for an apartment in Melbourne with 5,000 in it. Yeah. And then you're like, man, you consider sliding doors, right?
100%.
And how much your life could be affected by that moment in time. Yeah. My life was affected enormously. It really put me in a hard position by my own occupier, which was the only thing I wanted, right? It done a lot of things which I felt a lot of pain in all of that. I took a parental guarantee on my own occupier because of these off-the-plan properties. Yeah. Putting negative equity and having to put extra cash in them. There's so many things. You got to feel that pain, and in order to, and because we've already felt it. Why would people who come to us, they don't need to feel the pain we felt? It's like we felt it for them,
for sure.
And if they build trust with you, then great. That's what you want, because they trust that you're going to do the best thing by them.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that.
Mate, pain is the greatest teacher, right? It's the greatest educator I think there is. Because when you feel that pain, man, you don't want to go through it again. It's like again, we go back, getting bashed in year 10. You didn't want to, I don't know what you did, but like you knew you weren't going to do that again. You need to pull your head, you need to put your head straight, right? And the same as me with the different things that I've been burned by, man. It's pain is the greatest teacher I think that there is out of everything. And the best part, man, is that people don't need to go through that pain if they work with the right person that's been through it already. One of my favorite things to say, man, is work with someone who's done what you want to do, and undoubtedly, man, they've gone through that pain already to save you having to go through that pain, whether it's an expense or whether it's emotional toil or whatever it is, man. That's what you need to embrace. That kind of leads me into the next thing I want to talk about is have you had anyone, is it always just been you learning your lessons yourself, or have you had anyone else that's been, business coach, mentor, anyone that's guided you through a lot of stuff to help you avoid the pain, other than obviously what we spoke about earlier with YBR, that network, but anything outside of that?
I've hired a couple of business coaches throughout the year, throughout the years, sorry. And, I learned a lot from them.
Yep.
The original first and foremost was probably mindset coaching. Which was, I had a coach who taught me a lot about the mindset piece first.
Yep.
And that was probably my first barrier because, growing up where I grew up and, I think if you don't feel adequate, I feel like you think that, you're beneath what's possible. And I think that
not worthy.
Yeah, not worthy, correct. And I think that mindset coaching was, allowed me to realize my worth, and that allowed me to, get to that next level.
Yeah.
But then my second coach, he worked around the technical side, which was, around time, structure, people. He had a certain approach. I tried his approach, didn't quite work, and then I adapted it to my own. But that was a second part of it. Now I find out my coaches are my peers or my friends. So, as you grow older, I think your friendship groups grow smaller. I used to have because I ran nightclubs and done all that stuff, had a huge friendship group, right? Like huge, hundreds and hundreds of people. Then it shrunk down to like 50, 20. Now I think the closest guys to me are probably 4 or 5 of them.
Interesting.
And I'm the poorest guy in the group. So it's
good.
It's actually good for me because I can actually go and bounce ideas off the boys.
Yeah.
Will I always be the poorest? I don't know. Who knows? It doesn't really matter. Like the fact is that we help each other through whatever it is in our lives, whether it's emotional, whether it's, with business, having people at that same, the same spectrum as you is just really important.
For sure, man, for sure. Yeah. I love that, mate. It's one of the age-old sayings, right? Who you surround yourself with is who you become. And I'm sure that you add some great value, even though you might be, in your words, the poorest out of this group of five close friends. But I'm sure there's definitely value that you give them that they potentially don't have as well. I'm sure it's an even exchange across the board from that end too, man. So that's really cool, man. Dude, I really love that sort of component, that piece. And it's funny, man, because like I found when I moved to the GC, I didn't make friends quickly or easily. And it's not that I'm not really one to go to look to make friends, you know what I mean? Like I just do my thing. And then it's funny, like over time I started to gravitate towards, different people sort of gravitated to me and I gravitate towards them. And then it's funny because you end up in some circle and all of a sudden they're all business owners doing their own things. It doesn't matter whether you're doing better than them or they're doing better than you or whatever it is. You can all learn and take different things from each other. But it was just funny how that was sort of the natural progression. I ended up in this group of probably same sort of thing, 4 or 5 blokes, all business owners, all killing it, all, trying to, do the best that they can. Do we all enjoy occasional blowout? Yeah, bloody oath. Yeah. But then we all dial back in for the next, 1-2 months, whatever it is, and hone back in and then bang, blow out before you burn out and then keep going again. And it's interesting, man, how that sort of, I didn't even really think about it till you started talking about it then, that sort of gravitational pull of very similar, like-minded people, has happened. And it's cool, man. It's exciting. And it's, it keeps you pushing, man. It keeps you driven, and you can't just be the lone wolf, the lone ranger for your whole life. You need that pack, if that makes sense.
100%. And, I found that even just watching the way that different my friends allowing me to go deep into their businesses and see things.
Yeah.
Just seeing it. Yeah. You see and learn so much out of what's happening on the floor and you're like, wow, that's incredible. And you actually, like even yourself, when I look at the stuff that you do, I'm like, man, that was incredible, right? And it's, even every time I talk to you, I feel like, man, I'm amped up. I want to go and do some more deals. So I'm constantly doing deals. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do some more deals. Just going to put a poster of your face on the wall.
Some properties around my head.
Yeah. 132, whatever it is now.
Oh man, mate, it's a funny thing, eh? It's a funny thing the way dude, it's the same. You came into us, few bloody got the McLaren out the front, eh? Buddy, when we get a McLaren, you come around me with the property side. It's funny, but man, because I think it's that energy of what you're doing. And man, you were even talking before about, you know, one of these mates that's in your close circle as well, is, you know, cooking up $1 billion idea and looking extremely, you know, ferocious around that side of things as well, man. So I love it, mate. It's what you expose yourself to is what you become, right? So it's exciting, dude. I love it. And I think that's a cool thing for people to really think about and probably sit in and actually really think about. Who do I have around me? Like, are people helping me? Like, are we all lifting together, or are we being kept at a certain level because of who's around as well? So, Nat, I love it. I think it's a great piece of advice to sort of, you know, taper into the back end of this thing as well.
Yeah, 100%.
That's cool, man, mate. We pretty much are at the back end of this thing as well, man. I'd love to know, you know, if you could pass on any lessons, any key things that you think are super, super important to be able to pass on to anyone, maybe starting a business, going through whatever it is, man. What do you reckon the biggest lessons you could pass on? The best piece of advice?
Yeah, so reflecting on this whole conversation, I guess, is probably the fact that, you know, you can't do it all by yourself, right? As much as, you know, you've got that work ethic, there's somebody who's been through it, somebody who's done it before, somebody who does it really, really well, you know. So I guess seek advice where you can, but make sure you're getting advice for someone who's actually done it, right? So for instance, if you want to go buy an investment property, go to Sammy G, because he's bought 132 of them, whatever. So,
I appreciate it, brother.
You want to go to someone who's got skin in the game, right? So that's probably my first and foremost point, because I didn't do any of that. I thought I could do it all myself, and I drowned myself in work, in just not learning and not really working on the big picture. And then probably the tail end of that is really prioritizing your time then, and working out exactly what your week looks like in space of, you know, family, work. Big level thinking or high level thinking is the thing that, you know, people don't look at all the time. They're just thinking, oh, I've just got to run that, what do you call it, the rat wheel or whatever it is, hamster wheel, rat wheel. Run the hamster wheel. So, you know, that's coming back from holidays. Actually, I had 3 weeks of really just sitting there with my thoughts a lot of the time, which I realized I need to be with my thoughts a lot more. And I feel like you got to allocate time. I think Dan Beardle, he goes and sits in the mountains for 10 days.
Drinking ayahuasca, whatever.
Yeah. I messaged you before. Can we do the mountains for maybe 1 or 2 days together first before we go for a 10-day?
Yeah, like, that's hectic.
Yeah, so I think that's my biggest key takes to share with people.
Yeah, I love it. Man, one quick thing that I forgot to touch on earlier as well, in terms of business culture, you know, just as what do you do to ensure your business culture stays at the most elite level? Because you said you obviously got burnt by something, you know, earlier, that you think if the setup was correct, it wouldn't have potentially happened. What do you reckon? What has changed? What's so important now, you know, to you around culture to ensure that's correct, so then people stay happy?
Yeah, so I've watched a lot of businesses try to play the culture piece. Yeah. And I've even seen businesses hire culture managers and do all of this stuff.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the genuine culture of a business, which you and I both know. You've got a massive team. I've got a big team as well. And the culture is literally, it's how I believe it's how you run a business and the way everyone thinks and feels. So I'm not talking about the Fugazi bullshit. You know what I mean?
That's why I thought I'd start with the Fugazi to say that that's not what we do.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I think instilled in it, first and foremost, is the people that you hire. Like, that's what it comes down to. You can't really change people. You know, you think you're going to change them, but in order to change somebody's culture or their work ethic or the way that they are, you got to go to their childhood and give them a bashing in your 10. What else are you going to do, right? Like, people would make up all this crap to go change somebody's culture.
Yeah, for sure.
The truth is, it's either instilled in them or it's not.
You can't throw a rotten apple in the bag and expect it to get come good again.
100%. Yeah. You can change them a little bit, but not to that extent that they're, you know. So I believe that everyone in my business deserves to be there right now. And so they're all going, I'm not at dinner tonight, and they're all going out for dinner, hanging out. Yeah. And they just want to hang out because they actually like each other.
That's cool.
There's a lot of guys in the team, they're competing against each other for leads and sales, but they all help each other because they're all caring people. That's who they are naturally. They are people who actually care about people. And I wouldn't hire them if they don't care about people, because they're not going to care to give them strategy. They're going to care to put what's in their back pocket. No, you got to give people a strategy and help them with what's ahead of them in order to progress, right? Yep. And if they're not caring people, then they shouldn't be part of our team. That's just, So does that answer it? Yeah.
People first, 100%. Culture all built around people first.
Yeah.
So trying to build a culture, it's just having the right people, and the culture grows from there, right?
Nah, correct. That's why I thought I'd start with the Fugazi and then
You got me fired up around the Fugazi.
I was like,
it had to come in, yeah. The word always comes in at least once in a potty.
I was like, oh, mate. I was like Sammy's getting fired up here.
Man, I think it's funny as well, right? Because like one of the other big things I think comes into it is the right people will also bring in, they'll have the right drive and determination. And to us, one of the, just to flow on from this as well, is I find when there's like an elite mentality that's built across the board, the culture comes off the back of it, because everyone's high performing to an extent. It doesn't mean everyone is not going to always perform at the same level, but when they're all competing and exactly as you say, they're all competing against each other, but they all get on well because they respect each other as well, right?
Yeah.
Like when the respect is, because respect is earned. It's not just a given. You know what I mean? I don't just expect people to come in and respect me immediately. Respect is an earned right. And actually, I guess in a matter of fact, when you think about it, maybe with what we've done to date, that does warrant when coming in to have that respect immediately earned. But against other people, against your peers in there, it's earned and built over time as well, right?
100%.
And so I think that's it's a really sort of interesting thing to sort of reflect on from that side too, man, and how important that is. To round this thing out, to wrap this thing up, you know what's coming. What do you believe is the number one character trait of the top 1%?
I don't know if you've had this one before, but
Good.
It's space. I'm pretty sure you've had it. I'm sure they all say the same thing, but I feel like that the ability to keep getting up every time you knock down. Has someone said that one? I'm sure they
In different variations.
Yeah.
Grit.
So yeah, but I think the amount of times I failed, and I knew that there wasn't, like for instance when I started the broking business or bought the Fugazi business, and then was still willing to keep going and keep getting on my feet because I believed in myself, right? So the back end of obviously getting back up, you've got to also keep believing in yourself. Yeah. If you don't believe in yourself at some point, or your brain is not in the right tune at any given time, you're not going to get to the next level. Yeah. So, offer yourself some reset time, reflection time, high level thinking, and just stay on that path. Yeah. Yeah.
Get up, reset, push on.
Yeah. And doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, just keep going. Yeah. Don't fall over, mate. Just keep going.
See, keep pushing forward, huh?
Yeah.
Keep pushing forward. Well, man, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you in the studio, mate. We're an hour and a half in. I've loved every minute of it, mate. Honestly, it's been a cracker, man. You've got a crazy story. You've done so many different things, mate. So thank you so much for joining us in the podcast today.
Thanks for having me. I knew I was going to be bigger than Bruce Buffer.
Mate, you're more jacked. Actually, he's pretty jacked for an old bastard. Yeah. He's still pretty ripped, man. He's still pretty ripped. But, mate, thanks again so much for joining us. Listeners, I hope you took some great value out of today's episode. If you did, I've got a special favor to ask. If you haven't left us a 5-star review yet and you're loving the podcast, can you please jump on your favorite listening platform, leave us a 5-star review. If you haven't hit the follow, subscribe button as well, while you're there leaving us a 5-star review, hit that follow, subscribe button too. And if you loved Hung's podcast today and you think someone else could take some great value out of it, make sure you share it on, send on the love of everything to do with the top 1%. And until next week, guys, it's been a bloody pleasure being in your earbuds. That's it for another Top 1% podcast.